What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the NLL Flash. My name is Tino Fera, and man, oh man, was Week 10 a doozy. But we're not going to look back on it for too long here. We are here to get you set for a huge slate of games in Week 11, and we're going to kick things off by throwing to our poll, our Flash Game of the Week poll, because we went back to you guys, as always, to help us decide the game of the week. I should also mention before I get too into that, no transactions on the wire this week for us to talk about. It's really sad once you get to the media side of things, when there's trades galore like we've had for the last 3 weeks, 4 weeks. It's just incredible to be able to talk about this stuff, and then they take it away from you. It's tough look, NLL. Be better. But we're talking about the Flash Game of the Week. So, yeah, we went to you guys as per usual, threw out a poll for you guys to have your say, help us decide what our coverage for this week's show is going to look like. And you came through once again, as always. So the Game of the Week, thanks to you guys, coming in at 44%. It's going to be the Saskatchewan Rush, the 4-2 Saskatchewan Rush, heading on down to Calgary to take on the 4-3 Roughnecks. So that game is going to be on Friday night, February the 10th, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time and 9 p.m. Eastern at the Scotiabank Saddledome. Thank you guys very much for your contributions and helping us decide on the Flash Game of the Week. All right, time now for us to bring in our special guest to help us preview our NLL Flash Game of the Week. And who better to come in to preview this game than the head coach of one of the teams, Mr. Jimmy Quinlan himself, head coach of the Saskatchewan Rush. Jimmy, first of all, thanks for making time for us. And second of all, and probably more importantly, have you asked for Alex Bouquet's autograph since he's gone viral all over the internet yet?
No, I have not. I have not asked for his autograph. I will not be asking for his autograph. I will just simply continue to ask him to be good in the net and stop the ball. So that's first and foremost. He's an unbelievable guy. So, I mean, we feel like we kind of lucked out in getting him in free agency, and he's been everything we thought he would be. And, I mean, again, I say it all the time to our guys just to be themselves, that the perfect the way they are, and that was just Buki being Buki. So I'm glad he got some notoriety for the game of lacrosse.
Definitely. Okay, well, let's hop into your squad, shall we? So I want to ask you about the makeup of the team and how different the vibe is a little bit this year, because aside from just a few changes, like you being behind the bench for the full slate of games here, including training camp, Cam Sedgwick coming in, Marty Dinsdale's back into the lineup, Josh Courier's out. But aside from those few moves, the team this year isn't a ton different on the floor than it was last year, but the vibe around the team seems completely different, and you guys seem like the dominant Rush that we've all gotten so used to. So why does this team feel so much, or feel like they're in such a better place than they did last year?
Well, I think you can attribute it a little bit to, we did have a little bit longer training camp. We kind of had a really good slate of preseason games, and so some of that, I think, early success. I think the biggest thing, though, for us is just kind of getting back to being ourselves and having fun. Every single one of us makes the sacrifice to be there. And again, I'm a firm believer that no sacrifice is bigger than another one. So for the kid who's in university, who's missing maybe a law class or an economics class, their sacrifice is as big as the guy who's got 2 kids at home. And so really, it's just about understanding each other and coming together and making sure that when we're at the rink, we're being productive, but at the same time, we're enjoying ourselves. And so I think sometimes in sports, you see it as more than just a game. It is really a game. It's a performance-based business. But at the end of the day, we all got into the game because it was supposed to be fun. And so even at this level, it should be fun. And so our job as coaches is to educate and to prepare and to coach and to teach. And what we're finding with our group is they love all that. So they love to learn. They love to be taught, and they all want to, they all strive to be better. And so I think that's kind of the biggest focus we've taken here, right from day one, was to just get incrementally better each time out and to enjoy our time together.
Okay, I want to ask you about a few of the young guys in your team, but I want to start off specifically with a guy like Bobby Kidd III, who is having a really good year defensively. I mean, we all know how good of an athlete he is in general. But just in terms of statistics, he's third on the team in loose balls behind just Messenger and Rubish. He's second on the team in caused turnovers with 8, again, just behind Rubish. And he's second on the team for block shots with 7 behind just Matt Beers. And that's not to mention, obviously, Madronich and Boudreau and a guy like Paulus, who looks a lot more confident this year. What can you say about the progression of your young guys coming into this year compared to, their earlier seasons?
Yeah, I mean, I think, when you say we all know how athletic Bobby Kidd is, I don't know if we really do. He's a freak, man. I wouldn't be surprised if he scores a goal at one point jumping over the net, because he's got hops and he's athletic, and he's a sponge for the game. He's, constantly breaking down game, asking questions, and he wants to be better. And so to see the success translate on the stat line isn't really surprising for us. I think we kind of knew what he was capable of. The thing, again, that impresses me the most about Bobby is his willingness to play defense. I think at times, as you come up through the kind of the minor ranks and the junior ranks, a lot of the attributes or a lot of the credit goes when you score goals. And so to see him taking such pride in the defense he's taking, or he's playing and taking balls away from guys, that's what we really like. And then, Connor McClellan's another guy who's made some great strides again. And I always look back there and I don't see him as being a second-year player, but he's been, tremendous for us. Jake Boudreau, we are just absolutely pleasantly surprised with his game defensively. He can lock it down with the best of them, and his contributions in the transition game are starting to come. And so, we go to the front door, Madronic, Paulus, those guys just take pride in all the little things, and those are the things we asked them. I think a lot of times with young players, you put too much on their plate, and so really for us, it's kind of picking 1 or 2 things each game that we want them to be good at, and they've done a really good job in responding. And as they continue to improve, we continue to give them more. And so to see them having success is awesome. And again, that's a big reason why we're having the success we are.
Moving now into the Calgary side of things, in their case, we've kind of seen a team that's either been slow to start and then has finished strong, trying to come back in games, or we've seen the opposite of that, a team that started really strong and then has sort of fizzled out a little bit in games. But when you guys are preparing for this team, do you think we've seen the best of the Roughnecks yet, or do you think they're still getting better and better as the season progresses?
Well, I think they're like a lot of teams in the West. You don't always get to practice as much as the teams in the East. So I think that their trajectory is a little bit slower, and so I think the Roughnecks, have a ways to go. But that being said, they've got a world-class goalie. I believe right now they got the best transition game in the league. And you can look at the stats, and they'll tell you the same thing. And then they've got some floor generals up front in Pace and King, and so they're a very well-rounded team. I know Kurt from way back from my days playing senior lacrosse with him, and he's got an unreal mind for the game of lacrosse, and his teams are always prepared and they're never out of it. And so yeah, they're an extremely tough out, and I think those slow starts really haven't hurt them, because they just find a way to keep themselves in the game and get themselves back in the game, and that's a sign of a very good team. And so we're going to have our hands full. We're excited for the challenge. We think we've got some things that we can kind of employ that should allow us to have some success, but really at the end of the day, it's about what we do and how we execute.
I'm glad you brought up the transition game and Del Bianco specifically, because I want to ask you about how you prepare for a team with him in net, because like you said, their transition game is so strong, and he's a goalie in and of himself that can create so much transition immediately following a save. I mean, he's already got 12 assists on the year. It's ridiculous. But when you guys are preparing for this game and you're watching game film, how do you draw up a game plan for a goalie that creates so much transition?
Well, I think first and foremost, it's got to be where you shoot. I don't know how much success you're going to have putting it in his stick, because he gets the ball out and up so fast, and they've got guys like Courier, Cornwall, Shane Simpson that literally just can flat out fly. And so if you're going to put balls into his 5-hole all night, into his stick, and let those guys, get out and run, you're going to be chasing numbers. And so for us, it just comes down to, where we want to shoot, how we want to shoot, when we want to shoot, and then making sure that if a left-handed player is shooting, that the right, side of the floor is being responsible. And then our offensive guys making good decisions and not just bailing to the bench. And so, you know, we'll tell our guys that if you get trapped, you got to go back and play D, and we're confident in there. And again, we've got plans for when no guys are back there. And so, really for us, it just comes down to discipline, and then, you know, making our shots count and putting them in the places we want to place. Because again, like I said, the film doesn't lie. If you put it in his stick, you could be pulling it out of your net. And so, you know, again, we're looking forward to the challenge.
Jimmy, thank you so much again for making time for us this evening. Good luck this weekend, and good luck the rest of the way here.
Thank you very much. Always a pleasure talking lacrosse, so much appreciated.
All right, a huge thank you once again to Jimmy Quinlan for making time for us on the show today. But you're in luck. We have ourselves another guest, actually the first guest that I texted when it came to getting a guest on the show today. So the honor is all his, of course. Mr. Pat Gregoire of TSN and the Off the Crossbar podcast. Patty, welcome back to the show, man. How have you been? We haven't talked in a while.
Yeah, the first one you text, give me a break. And now I find out that Jimmy Q is on the broadcast. So now I'm the guy with the second best hair on this episode. I'm in absolute shambles. We're off to a terrible start, Tino. This is not good.
Hey, not only the second best hair, maybe the second best beard too. He looks like he just got a fresh trim in there. So, but we got some more games to talk about with you here, Pat. We already previewed the Saskatchewan Calgary game, so I want to go through the remaining 5 games with you and just hear your takes on them. So, the next game in line here, Friday night, we have Toronto, the 6-2 Toronto Rock, heading down to Georgia. Georgia still looking for their first win of the season. Unfortunately for them, that game's coming in 4:30 Pacific, 7:30 Eastern at Gas South Arena. So, Pat, like I mentioned, this winless Georgia team going up against a Toronto Rock team that is just firing on all cylinders. It's a really simple question. Does Georgia have a chance in this game?
They certainly have a chance. It's, you know, when you look at what they've done this year, and really with the exception of that one game against the Bandits where they lost 18-9, I think it was, they've played a lot of competitive lacrosse, and a win is going to come. They're not going to go over the entire season. It's just unfortunate that I don't think it's this week, and I think they're going to compete. I think it's, you know, if you're betting this game, consider taking Georgia by the spread, or maybe buy an extra goal at 2.5 and put in a parlay. I think it's going to be a close game. Georgia is just a team that is plucky. When you have Lyle Thompson on your side, certainly good things happen. Andrew Q is a dynamic weapon on offense. I think things are coming positive for this team. TJ Camizio is surprisingly become one of the top defenders, not just on this team, but one of the most fun D guys to watch, you know, in the game right now. It's just they're walking right into a buzzsaw. And yeah, is Toronto going to put up 22 again? Probably not. But the way that defense is playing, the way that Nick Rose is playing, and when you look at Tom Schreiber in this offense, like, it's so dynamic. I just don't see win number 1 coming this week for Georgia, but it's going to come. They're way better than what their record shows. It's just unfortunate. It's just bad timing, really. And kudos to Brett Dobson, because I thought he was tremendous in their loss to Colorado. A couple goals he probably wants back. But this kid's a gamer. This kid wants to get better. This kid wants that crease, and I think he's earned it. Like, this is his net, and you know, he's a young guy that is proving that he is a NLL goaltender, and I think only positive things are going to come for this guy.
All right, 1 game down, 4 more to go here on the list. So we're into the Saturday games now. Halifax, the 4-4 Thunderbirds head on down to Rochester to take on the 6-2 Nighthawks. That game's 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern at Blue Cross Arena. Patty, these are 2 teams that in very recent memory have squandered multi-goal leads and ended up with a loss. In your eyes, which of these 2 teams needs this win more?
Boy, that's a great question, because when you look at it in the standings, you're probably thinking it's Halifax because they'll drop below 500 for the first time in a long time. I can't even remember the last time this team was below 500, to be quite frank. And let's be honest, they're a team that I think we all had pretty high expectations that they'd not only be a playoff team, but they'd be fighting for home floor advantage. And it's not too late for that, but a loss here would certainly put a big damper into that. On the flip side, if Rochester loses 3 in a row, yeah, they're still sitting at 6-3. They're sitting pretty, but now all the doubt starts to go in the back of the heads. And is it like, okay, was our 6-0 start kind of a fluke? And you start losing faith in this group. So I think by default, you got to go with Halifax. But man, I don't want to use the term must win for Rochester, but whenever I've talked, whether it's on this show at the start of the year or, when talking to Teddy on OTCB or Coast to Coast or even on the broadcast, I knew this Rochester team when they went on their 4, 5, even 6 game run. This is a legitimate team. I wanted to see what they do once they hit a rut. Well, now they've hit that rut. How do they get out of it? And this is a huge game going up a team that just beat the doors off you a couple of weeks ago. How do you reply? How do you bounce back? I'm really looking forward to this one.
Next game on the schedule, the 2-4 Albany. They don't like it when you say Albany.
Well, they'll get at you for that one, man.
The 2-4 Albany Firewolves head on down to the island to take on the 1-6 New York Riptide. There's a 4:30 Pacific, 7:30 Eastern at the Nassau Coliseum. Let's just be realistic about this, Patty. The Riptide need a miracle if they have any plans on making the postseason. More than likely not going to happen. I don't know if they're mathematically eliminated or not yet, but regardless, for this point onward till the end of the season, what needs to happen for this Riptide team to look at their season by the end of it and say, we took a step forward in the right direction?
It's a lot more wins, man. It is a lot more wins, and it is definitely not the fault of the offense, because what you look at what Jeff Teat and the front door was able to do against arguably the best defense in this league. 14 goals. They were perfect on the power play. Jeff Teat put on a clinic down to the hammer, but the goaltending, the defense wasn't good enough. Dan Lattiser said it perfectly after that game. If you score 14 goals in the National League, you should be winning that game. And if you're not winning, you should be, competing. They got blown out. You score 14 goals and you get blown out. So for me, whether it's, Stephen Orleman, if Kevin Orleman at some points gets off the IR, or Go Abrams, or even if they look elsewhere in this league to try to pick someone up, the goaltending has to be better. Like, I get it. The offense of Toronto is supremely electric, and Tom Schreiber is a very special talent, but that can't happen. You can't give up 22 goals in an NLL game. That's just not acceptable. And it's so crazy to think, but like, this is year 2 of Jeff Teat in the NLL. Like, watching him up close and personal, like, this guy is special. You can't waste these years of him being like, I know he's still got so much left in the tank, but look at Connor McDavid in Edmonton. Like, you look at these special generational talents, you can't be wasting years. And it seems like they've almost taken a step back this year. There's a lot of time where they can take that step forward, but I'm not looking at the offense. I'm looking at the defense. And talking to Jeff Teat, Dan Lattiser, they said, like, there is no finger pointing right now. They have a lot of belief in the locker room, which is great. But at some point, you almost wish maybe the offense can hold the defense a little bit accountable and say, listen, guys, we're holding up our end of the bargain. We need you guys to do it too. So it's great that there is that camaraderie, but at the same time, a little accountability would almost be okay at this point. Wouldn't mind, guys rocking the boat a little bit. Of course, you don't want to rock it too much, but at the end of the day, the offense is clearly holding up their bargain.
Next game on the list, Saturday, the 1-7 Vancouver Warriors head down to Panther City to take on the 4-4 Lacrosse Club, I guess we call them, the Panther City Lacrosse Club. I don't know. That game's going on 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern at Dickies Arena there in Fort Worth. Patty, is this going to be the game that we see Aaron Bold make his return to the crease for Vancouver, or do you see them giving Aiden Walsh an opportunity to get a little redemption against a team that, you know, took him out of the net pretty early in their last game against each other?
You know, based off the way that Aiden Walsh played last week, I would love to see him again. I would love to see him get another chance at this Panther City team that, you know, touched up the Warriors pretty good a couple weeks prior. That being said, you bring in Aaron Bold, and I don't think they brought in Aaron Bold to be the answer, to be the solution. I think it's a little bit of, he could be a stopgap. He can also be that mentor. But at the end of the day, this is Troy Quarterling's guy. Like, he brought him in to be the guy. So if I had to choose right now, I think we see Walsh down in Texas, and I think he's going to get an opportunity. With that being said, maybe it's a bit of a short leash. But if I'm Panther City, I'm not walking into this game thinking this is a walkover. What we saw from Vancouver against Saskatchewan, yeah, the wheels fell off in that fourth quarter, but this is a team that is no way showing indications that they're ready to pack this in. And why should they? They're fighting not only for their jobs this year, but their jobs next year. Like, no job is safe. When Mitch Jones is traded, you clearly know that nobody is off the market. So they're battling for their jobs. They're battling for each other. And I'm really excited to see where this team goes. Of course, yeah, I don't think they're going to run the table and really make a playoff push, but I don't think they're going to be an easy out for the rest of the season. They're going to be a plucky team, and Panther City has a lot to prove if they want to put themselves right into this playoff race.
And the last game of the weekend here on Saturday, the 4-3 Colorado Mammoth head on down to the Saddle Dome to take on maybe they'll be 4-4 at this point. Maybe they'll be 5-3 at this point. We'll have to see, to take on the Calgary Roughnecks, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern at the Scotiabank Saddle Dome. And I want to ask you about the advantage in this game, because I'm curious to hear your take. Do you think Colorado has the bigger advantage in this game, seeing as Calgary will have already played a game the night before and might be a little bit tired? Or do you think Calgary's home floor advantage will be enough to give them the upper hand in this one?
This one's tough, Tino, because I think when you look at it, that usually a back-to-back, at least what we're seeing over the last couple of years, few season, is that the back-to-back no longer is an advantage. There's a lot of belief that, like, when you play a back-to-back, it actually helps because, you know, NLL is a league where you're not practicing all the time. You're getting your reps in. But we're seeing over the last few years that, in fact, it is a disadvantage. It's something that does not actually help you out. But when you look at it, the home floor advantage, sure, it definitely helps. That the fact that Calgary has the very rare, which again, fire up Graham Perro's number, because I don't know if we've ever seen a back-to-back, a home game before. So it's tricky because I don't know. You know, is the Loud House going to be rocking 2 nights in a row? I'm really not too sure. I think the advantage does go to Colorado because they're going to be rested. They just played a back-to-back. They realize how difficult it is to play 2 nights in a row. Yeah, they had some travel involved in that, had to go down to Vegas, so it's a little bit different. But if I had to give the edge, I'm giving it to Colorado. But with that being said, this Calgary team, you know, they're plucky. Every time you start to doubt them, they prove that this is a legitimate team.
Patty, thank you so much for making time for us for another episode here of the NLL Flash. And don't let anybody tell you otherwise. You're always our first pick. Don't let anybody let any little seed of doubt slip into your brain. Thanks for making time, man, and enjoy the games this weekend.
Thanks so much for having me. Next time when there is 7 other people that say no, I'll be right here to be pick number 8.
A huge thank you once again to both of our guests that came on to help us preview the weekend, Jimmy Quinlan and Pat Gregoire. That's it. That's another episode here of the NLL Flash. Looking forward to week 11 in the National Lacrosse League. So on behalf of the entire crew here at Lacrosse Flash, I've been Tino Fera, and we'll see you next time.